All right. So, here we go. Everyone say hi.
Hi.
All right. So this is a informative speech on baseball analytics. Hope everyone had a good morning. With baseball analytics, who says there's unemployment? Who says there's an unemployment problem in this country? Just take 5% of the unemployed and give them a baseball stat to follow. Meaning, baseball stats can get very in-depth. That was from outfielder Andy Van Slyke back in the day. So that's an older baseball player. Baseball statistics, we all know batting average, on-base percentage, stuff like that. And in the 70s, there was a statistician his name was Bill James. And he created what's now known today as sabermetrics. Basically, taking all those stats, putting them in the garbage, and he rewrote a bunch of statistics, advanced statistics that are actually used today to recruit players, to evaluate players, stuff like that. He was actually, in the 70s, people wrote him off. He was a joke. He was self-published in 1977, and the only reason he was self-published is because he actually took an article out in Sporting News, the magazine Sporting News, bought his own ad, published his 78-page book, and he only sold 86 copies nationwide. Because people did not believe in this new way of thinking of the classic view of you're looking at a baseball player and saying, oh, he has a good swing, whereas he was actually fundamentally taking that swing and breaking it down by numbers. Does anyone remember the big Boston Red Sox breaking the curse of winning the World Series back in 2003? Bill James was actually behind that. Bill James was hired by the Boston Red Sox, and he actually just retired this past season. He spent 18 years with the Boston Red Sox organization. He was the driving force behind their success over the past decade and all those numerous World Series rings that he had won because of his statistics. Now, because of all these statistics and AI coming into play, now we have StatCast AI. Basically, every major league ballpark now has 3 radars and a server that just track movement. Like how fast a runner jumps on the ball. It can even track the spin rate of a pitcher. So if you're holding the ball and you're throwing to the catcher, if you're throwing a curveball, it's going to track the rotation, the RPM of the spin of that ball from the pitcher to the catcher. And it goes into statistics because now all that data is public. All that data is public information. Each team obviously has their own private way of how they track data, but I did it the other night. I logged into StatCast, and I was actually able to sort out spin rates, how fast a person runs after a ground ball, catch probability on a pitch that is hit 94 miles an hour at a launch angle of 18%. You can track that. It's amazing what you can do with all that stuff. So my point is, all this data, we had the Boston Red Sox. Now we have the Houston Astros. They're coming into play, being, the big powerhouse. Before that, it was the Cubs. They're rebuilding. They're using all this data during their rebuilds, where they get rid of all their good players, but they draft these prospects because now they have all this data on their prospects. 2016, we all know Chicago won the World Series, right? Yes. From their rebuild era, 2012 to 2014, they only won 41% of their games. But they were able to draft their players using this data, using this new way of thinking. I looked it up. The Houston Astros from 2011 to 2014, according to Baseball Reference, they only won 35% of their games. Every season from 2011 to 2014, they lost at least 105 games every year. But because of that, they were able to rebuild. They were able to get these players and look in a new way of light, like the Boston Red Sox did years before. So now we see that every team is doing a rebuild. 15 teams in 2019 had a losing record because each of those 15 teams are trying to copy your Boston Red Sox, Bill James, your Chicago Cubs with Theo Epstein, and your Houston Astros, Moneyball, this is Bill James, and obviously Theo Epstein and the Chicago Cubs. So it all goes back to statistics and how people can analyze what's going on per player. And how it's going to be interesting is how this AI is going to affect the future of baseball. But not only baseball, our daily lives. We see AI now daily, Siri on our iPhones, but just stuff like that. So Bill James is the godfather of baseball statistics, advanced baseball statistics. Baseball is about statistics, but can the statistics track the human emotion of baseball, the human interaction of baseball, how the pitcher and the catcher, how they communicate, how the outfield communicates? I don't think it's quite there yet with AI. However, I think there will be a statistic one day to show, hey, when this guy raises up his arm, the AI is going to pick that up and be like, oh, this is how they're communicating, stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting to see. And will AI stats ever be able to track human emotion? Like I said, to the pitchers, to the batter box, to the first base, second base, third base, shortstop. It's going to be really interesting to see where statistics from this point go forward.